to get a Visa credit card so I could get gas. Like all that stuff was running through my head. When I tell you I was getting creative with the few dollars and dollars of credit I had left, man, it was real.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Middleton Methods podcast. We are here today with a very special guest, Mr. Marshall Fox. Like we say every week, this podcast is designed to let you be a fly on our wall, introduce you to other people who are in our network, other entrepreneurs, and other business owners who are out there getting it. Of course, I love to bring on other family men. Marshall is a husband, a father, and a new entrepreneur. His story is pretty darn inspiring. I'll put a link to a kind of a trailer video that was done on his story that I think you'll get a lot of value out of. But I'm very excited to have Marshall here. We're going to talk about the importance of design. How many times have you visited a website, got someone's business card, and just seen just terrible design, right? We all judge. Whether we like it or not, we are quick to judge. And I know if I see a bad website, a bad logo, I'm quick to think that they didn't take time to or make the investment in their business. So design's really important. Marshall's going to give us a few kind of key takeaways. So how you can step up your design. But before we get into that, I want to first, like I said, just introduce Marshall, let Marshall tell you a little bit about his story, how he came from, the 9-to-5 and started his own 120 Studios business. And I'll let you take it from there. I'll let you introduce the story. So how have you, tell us how you even got into design? Your stuff looks so good, right? It's called 120 Design for a reason. It's such high quality. You would think you've been, at this business for a decade. And when did 120 actually start? And tell us how you kind of came to this place.
Okay. Yep. So 120 Design Studio. We started March 28th of last year. So I'm about a year and a half into my graphic design career. Not even that long. So less than a year with 120. Prior to 120, I freelanced for a few months. So just to give you a little history on myself. So I'm 29 years old. In 2016, I left my full-time job. I managed a fraud investigations team at a credit union, and I jumped into full-time sales, selling final expense insurance with my father, a small face amount, whole life policies, mainly for seniors, seniors who may not have anything saved up.
How long did you do that for?
I did that for a few months. So,
okay.
And prior to that, I was, at the credit union. And prior to the credit union, I spent about 5 or 6 years at Target as loss prevention. And I started as a security guard, 120 pounds in a high-risk store in Baltimore, top flight security. And I kind of worked my way up into management, managing the loss prevention team at a Target over the course of 5 or 6 years, then went to the credit union. So prior to this graphic design, prior to even the sales, I spent pretty much all my adult life in private sector security loss prevention, credit card fraud and all that. It was rampant at the time, but I knew that I wasn't really the 9-to-5 type, and I wanted to take a leap. So I'll never forget the day. It was February 22nd, 2016. I told my wife, I texted her when I got to work. I said, "Hey, I'm leaving on April 1st. And she thought I was kidding. She said,
April Fool's Day.
Yeah. She said, no, you're not. You're crazy. And I wasn't disgruntled. I wasn't upset. The job was great. 9-to-5. I was salaried, making decent money at the time, or what I thought. And, I didn't have to work nights, weekends. It was straight 40 hours. Didn't even have to work 50 hours like most salaried managers I knew had to work. But I was like, you know what? April 1st is going to be my last day. So April 1st rolled around and I left. I still remember that day because that's actually the day that I joined Breathe University through Eric Thomas's platform. That's how you and I, Brandon, met. So on that day, I jumped right into full-time sales. Had a lot of fun. I did it for about 4 or 5 months, and had a lot of success. But then I had some failure as well. Like I landed flat on my face, and for the first time in my adult life, I'm looking at bills that aren't getting paid. Car notes due, rents due, and I was looking at my wife, and I'll never forget. She said, I'll just go back to work. Because she wasn't working at the time. She was raising my sons. Mason, who was probably a few months old at the time, and my oldest son, Marshall, who was about 6 or 7. We had 2 kids, and she said, "I'll just go back to work." And I knew that I had to do something. Either I was going to keep going with this insurance thing, or I was going to either find a job. I'm not necessarily the quitting type. I know this is a story of like quitting, but I decided, with her encouragement, that I was going to try my hand at graphic design. For the first time, I've had a passion for it for ever since I was in high school. That's when I had a computer graphics class that I really liked, and over the years, it's something that just it always kind of stuck with me. Like you said, I always see a business card or a menu or a sign and just look terrible, and I will always think, I could make something nicer than that. I just have all these ideas floating around in my head a lot of the times, and I haven't really done anything with it. So she said, "Why don't you try your hand at graphic design? It's always been a passion of yours." And she used to always say, you'll be doing that eventually. You're going to be doing what you're gifted at." And I thought she was crazy. I said, "No, I'm going to build this insurance empire. I'm going to be a millionaire through selling insurance." So that was really my goal. I had my goals written down. I was getting up early, praying, meditating, the whole nine, really trying to build the insurance empire. But when I reached that crossroads, I decided to give it a shot. So what I did was I did a logo for somebody in my network, and he shared it with his network through LinkedIn, and then the Breathe University community, and that's when things kind of caught fire. People saw it, and being a part of a community like that, this person, he had the trust of a lot of people, so I really didn't have to do anything, but his recommendation was all I needed. So the next person came to me, said, "Hey, they needed some work." And then the next person came to me, then the next person came to me. So I really developed this freelance formula. I don't know if you want me to get into it just yet, that for at least for the first few clients that I had while I was building my book of business, that I would get a few things from each client. So I would get a testimonial from them, I would get a referral from them, and then I would look to get them as a repeat client. So those are kind of the three things that I really repeated that formula a few times as I established my baseline pricing. As I built my portfolio out, I was still figuring things out as I was kind of identifying my target market. So that really helped out. So over the course of the next couple months, things really caught fire. I was doing over $10,000 a month in graphic design, kind of out of nowhere within like a couple months of me.
So you didn't have advertising. You didn't borrow money to get a loan to start a business. You just started, and you didn't even get your first customer. You went and gave away your service for free to a person of influence, right?
Yep.
Knowingly or not. That was you saw a need. You helped somebody out before, and I think that's important, right? Because a lot of people, especially in a survival situation, which sounds like you were, right? You very easily could have been, no, me. Like I need to take care of me first.
Right.
And I think that's really important for those of you that are out there who are thinking like, how much do I charge? And just go out and serve first, because I mean, how much business do you think has come out of giving away that logo?
Yeah. Serving first is everything, man. It really establishes, really the core values. When people know, like, if that's what you're about, they really become brand advocates. So that's what, this person, Rob Youngblood, we call him YB. That's what he was for me. He was really a brand advocate because I helped him in that way. So our relationship was mutually beneficial. So he shared it, and, he's still to this day, a huge advocate for me and my business, even as we formed 120 Design Studio. So, that was everything. Had I not done that, I don't think I would have, quote unquote, blown up the way I did.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was a critical part, and that's really what started this whole thing. That's really the moment that changed my entire life, was when I gave my gift away.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to jump around a little bit. So real
Mhm.
quick, how much, what were you making before taking this leap, roughly?
Before I left my full time job, I was making about $70,000 a year. Yep.
It's a good income, right? So
Yep. Yep.
why leave something like that and take the risk of entrepreneurship? We like to call it the golden handcuffs. I
Hmm.
think it's harder for people to get into business who have something that's comfortable, right? Or have the six-figure income than
Hmm.
it is for someone who's got nothing to lose and is in, you know, grind survival mode. So why leave something good? Why wasn't that enough?
Well, it was just something inside of me. I had been following Eric Thomas for a couple years, and I had this hunger that I knew, um, that I wasn't really the 9 to 5 type. I was a manager. It sounded great. All my family's, oh, they're so proud of me and everything.
Yeah.
Um, I was probably looked at as one of the people that were a little more further along in my age range, and amongst my peers, quote unquote, further along in my career and things like that. But I knew that I wanted more. And to be completely honest, I was motivated by the dollar signs at the time. When I wanted to leave, I said, you know what, I need to be making six figures right now. So I'm going to
Mhm.
take this leap, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. For my family. Because $70,000 a year, for a family of, what were we, three or four at the time, that's, it could be considered still on the poverty line. So I
Mhm.
knew that I wanted to break free from that at the time. So that's really what I was motivated by when I took the leap. So and honestly, I felt invincible at the time as well, because like I said, I was getting up super early. Since I've jumped into entrepreneurship, that hasn't been as consistent as it was when I was, going to work by 8:30, 9 o'clock every day, getting off at 5 o'clock, having a little time with the kids, getting to bed by 9 o'clock. That's not as easy to do now. But at the
Mhm.
time, I was doing it religiously, getting up every morning, going through a routine, getting a workout in. So I felt invincible. I said, hey, this is a hack. All I got to do is get up early, and I can make all this stuff come true. So it was a combination of feeling like nothing could stop me and being motivated by the dollar signs at the time. So that's really what got me to I guess break the golden handcuffs.
Now,
Um,
did you wait? 'Cause before we have everybody just quitting their job and being irresponsible? Did you wait until you had a certain amount of savings, or did you
you
have any
you you
safety
may
net or backup plan?
you may not want to ask me this question, because I was completely, utterly irresponsible with the way I did it.
Hmm.
Nothing saved, 401k minimal, which I drained shortly after leaving. Um, yeah, yeah, my wife wasn't working. We didn't. Yeah, I really jumped off the cliff when I did what I did. So I don't know if my advice would
No,
would be.
it's good. It's just good to hear. It's truth. So
Yeah, and
I did the
really,
same thing. I started with less than zero, which is
oof,
even scary.
really quick. I know people, your listeners, you may have seen this clip by Steve Harvey where he talks about. I think he's in a parking garage, and he says, "Hey, you just gotta jump.
Yeah.
When you fall, you're gonna hit the cliff. You're gonna hit the side, and your back's gonna get scraped up. But you gotta jump. You gotta take that leap before your wings can fly." And I used to always think about that, like, man, I grew up, middle class, never missed a meal. I don't have this rags to riches story. How am I gonna, get success like all these people do? I always think about that. But then when I was sitting in that parking lot, I'll never forget. I was getting ready to go to a group presentation at a senior home, and I usually take some fruit. This is when I was selling insurance. You take some fruit, some juice, some snacks. I didn't have enough money to get the fruit. I was like,
Oh man.
either I can get the fruit and the juice, or I can get gas to have enough gas to go home. Like I remember sitting there. I was like, oh, I got credit on the Best Buy credit card. I can use that to get a Visa credit card so I could get gas. Like all that stuff was running through my head. When I tell you I was getting creative with the few dollars and dollars of credit I had left, man, it was real. And I know that's not the worst thing that can happen, but that was one of the times where I was like, man, I have to do something. I got to do something.
Yeah, yeah. No, I hear you. So, but you did know it sounded like you had some faith and confidence in your ability, and you had
Well,
some, I mean,
well, honestly, man, I didn't have as much faith as I probably should have, and I'm
mhm,
just reaching a point where I'm confident. I'm pretty confident in my gift. That's why this podcast is right on time for me. But I got to give all credit, honestly, to my wife. She's the one that really pushed me. She's the one that believed in
love
me,
it.
and she
Yeah.
was always the voice in my head saying, "Hey, you should do graphic design." But I'm like, please, I'm about to build this insurance empire. I'm not worried about that. I haven't been to school for it. I'm here. I am 26, 27. People, they've went to school. They have jobs in the field, and I googled the average salary, and it was about 60,000. I said, no, that's not enough. Every excuse you could think of, I had as to why I couldn't operate in my gift. But I knew it was something that I had an eye for, even though I didn't put pen to paper as much as I could have. I knew, like, I had these ideas, like you said, in my head, just instinctively that I knew that if I acted on it, I could really, really come up with something great. Um, so yeah, I didn't always have the confidence in my ability.
Yeah, yeah, but that you touched on something important. Your wife was there to push you and to, to encourage you and
Hmm.
support you. And Sam and I talk about it all the time, how absolutely important that is. So, for those of you who are listening that are married or that are in relationship, or that's something you're aiming for, I
Hmm.
mean, man, I don't know that I would have pushed as hard. I don't know that I would have had the confidence and downtimes to do some of the things that we did to grow our business. But Sam was the rock,
Hmm.
and you can't you can't you can't kind of breeze over that. I think as men, as the providers, we want to be like, no, 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 we know we got the answers. We're gonna go and we're gonna provide, and wife take care of the home, and that's it. But there's so
Right.
much more. There's so much more to that, and having your partner, like
Hmm.
we always say, ride or die. Like she's
Yep. Yep.
the
And
other
it's
half for sure.
and that's an important lesson, because I know a lot of people out there, they have a gift that they're not sharing with the world, thinking that it's not as fleshed out, or they're not as skilled or gifted in whatever area that they are. But they hear the chatter, they hear the family, the friends. Um, my wife, when she said, "Hey, if you would have listened to me a long time ago, this probably could have happened a long time ago." But yeah, it was an important lesson for me to learn, and I'm glad it happened the way it did when it did.
Good, good. So, we talked about the having that support system at home, but also that the support system, like we both met in breatheuniversity.com, that community, that online membership. Let's talk about that just for a second.
Mhm.
Being able to surround yourself. We have a podcast, an episode that we call the Inner Circle. Obviously, we were in business before Breathe University, but and so we had different communities that we connected with. We went to a lot of conferences, trade shows, and seminars,
Mhm.
surrounding ourselves with other people who were going after the same things, who were like-minded, who were focused on growing their business and growing personally and professionally. You
Mhm.
just talk about that for a minute, on one, how that's so important for you personally, how that helped you, but also, as we gave the example with YB, a lot of business can come out of that, and it can be a real, you know, win-win situation. So just talk about the importance of having that support system, and how can people find that? I mean, how did you find your way into, this network of people, and how can somebody else do that? Obviously you can join breatheuniversity.com, but
Mhm.
um, if people are looking for that in their own community or other online communities,
Mhm. Well,
what are some
honestly,
tips?
Brandon, I could talk for days about the importance of having a support system and a network of folks, mainly because outside of my wife, I didn't really have one. Of course, you have your friends that you kind of known for a while. But as far as people who were like-minded and pushing me, I didn't have that. I was in corporate America. I was working. I wasn't on Facebook. I wasn't socializing. And even when I joined BU, people within BU, they know I mainly joined to come to the brunch that we were having, and be in the presence of ET, and get the free food and whatnot. before a conference that we were having. I didn't join BU to meet anyone new. I didn't feel the need at the time. But when I think back on it, it found me in a way, if that makes sense.
Mm.
So, and just some benefits to having a network and support system like that, man. It's innumerable, honestly. Just having people that are kind of where you are mentally to help push you, hold you accountable. It's been tremendous. Like through YB, I've connected with a couple of other gentlemen who are now my accountability partners, and we've grown so tight. It's like we're brothers. Like we've known each other all of our lives, and I'm closer to these guys than I am with anyone else outside of my immediate family. And I met people like you and Sam, and in a network like that, there are people on all different levels, of life and quote unquote success and business. But in a community, it's really like a family. So people are there to help you and lift you up and share their knowledge with you. Just the knowledge that I've gotten from people like you, you've helped me a lot through those early days of figuring my business out, and especially with the workload. So I just want to thank you again.
Yeah, anytime, brother.
But things like that, had I not been in the family, a conversation, the stuff that I got from you in those few conversations, you could have charged me several $100s, an hour for the advice that you've given me. So that's one example. People like Patrick Pete, who's the gift coach, just helping me be comfortable in my gift. That's another example. Had I not been in the family, that would have easily been a few $100 an hour conversation that I had with him. So those are just a couple of examples. So people in a community, they really want to help each other because everybody's striving to be better. Everybody has common goals in that they want better for their lives and their families and their business. So man, it's everybody support each other. If somebody comes out with a book or a program, people in your community, they're going to be your first customers. They're going to be your first supporters. So you're not out there on your own trying to, one, figure things out, and two, who am I going to sell this to? They give you feedback, say, hey, this is terrible, or hey, this may be a winner. So yeah, man, I know I was rambling a bit, but
No, that's good. That's good examples.
It's just
So
so much.
For those of you that are listening, make sure that you're looking for those elements, those pieces that Marshall talked about. There's a lot of networks out there, right? There's a lot of meetups that I went to early in business where they would they were like speed dating. You just went in there to exchange business cards and be on to the next. It was churn and burn. There weren't any deep relationships. There wasn't any real accountability. There wasn't any real aspect of community. Those are not the types of communities that we're talking about. So look for those types of like-minded people. Ask people for, what kind of groups that they're in, or be the change and create that yourself. Start a meetup, start an online, Facebook group, start inviting people that, are of like mind. And those are just a couple of things that you can do. So I want to get into the design aspect, talk about these elements. I think it's super important. If you can, Marshall, I know we've got a lot of stuff on the website, but if you can send me over like some logos, book covers, things like that you've designed, I'd love to actually edit that in and show people, because with design, we could talk about it all day long. I'm telling you, when I first met you and I went to, marshallfox.design, you could have told me you've been doing this for 10 years because the quality was so good. Right. And anyone, especially who's first starting, if you can have your look, your design, your brand, looking at a high level, you're going to immediately, you're going to look like the expert. You're going to look like an authority. You're going to look like what you offer is of high quality because you put high quality into your brand. So I'd like to kind of dissect that a little bit with you, Marshall. I know you have a process. So I'd like to dissect, like, what is it to have 120 design, right?
Yep. So yeah, before we jump into that, just for the listeners and viewers, just to give you just a little fill-in from when I started freelancing to when we formed 120. Like I said, I had a lot of success. with graphic design very fast. We had the BU family or the ETA family come out and film a BU stories, kind of like a success stories video with me. And shortly after that, that's when ETA approached me about forming 120. So I own 120 Design Studio in partnership with ETA, with Eric Thompson Associates. And they said they were going to help me automate, systematize some things. I was working 80, 90, 100 hours a week doing design, basically killing myself. So having their support system has really helped. So we formed 120 Design Studio. So just a little bit about our process. And I'll go back to our target. So our target market is really authors, speakers, professional development coaches, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs. But we found
personal brands, right? Where the
right.
person themselves is the brand.
For the most part, like we won't, if you have a business and you're not working on your personal brand, we won't necessarily turn you away. But our target is really that audience, mainly because being in BU and the communities that I was in, it's a huge gap. I found people that are great speakers, or they may have a great book, but the cover is terrible. Or their personal brand is lacking or non-existent. Their online presence is non-existent. So that I attribute a lot of my success to the fact that I really found a gap that people in the community, they needed someone to fill. So I came right in. I was able to fill that with quality design that really doesn't break the bank. Like we still, to this day, even though some people get a little sticker shock when they see our prices, we're still far below the average rates for a graphic design agency. We're far above Fiverr, but we're still far below your average sticker price. So we really identified our target market, and we niche down, and we just dominate that area. So I ran into a lot of people that have, like I said, quality products, services, quality speaking, but their personal brand or their online presence, the quality of it just doesn't match up. So my goal is to bridge that gap.
I love it. So how do you do that? What is, if someone wants to kind of audit their own brand, audit the design, and what are some steps that they can take? I know you have a cheat sheet, you have a gift that we'll give away at the end.
Yep.
What is the process? What are the important elements of design for our listeners want to, step that up, whether it's hiring 120 or not, if it's hiring somebody else, what's kind of the checklist of items they need to make sure that their designer is doing or that they're doing for their own design?
Yep, it's a few things, but one quick way is if you shoot a design to me, I'll give my feedback. I love
goes in it.
Yeah, I'll rip it apart. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. If it warrants it, I will. But you'll appreciate me for it. And it's funny because I used to do those types of things before I even started freelancing. Like those are the types of things I would do. It'll be a friend of mine in the music business. He may show me a few things. I said, man, that's terrible. That quality is horrible. So he used to always get on me, man, you just missed the quality, aren't you? But now I do it for a living. So reach out to me, because giving feedback doesn't take me that much time to look at something, because I have a few design principles that I follow, which I'll kind of go over. But that's one quick way. Just ask me what I think and I'll let you know, whether it's on Facebook,
cool.
email. But the main design principles that I follow, that I've kind of developed and kind of learned over the past year and a half, is to make sure that all designs are simple, memorable, timeless, versatile, and appropriate. So if they check all those boxes, we're good to go. And of course, we want to make sure that the design, and this is a huge one, that it resonates with the target audience quickly and effectively. That's the first criteria, honestly. Because if it doesn't do that, it's pointless. We'd hate to have a beautiful design that checks all those boxes: simple, memorable, timeless, versatile. But then you get to the appropriate. Like, is it appropriate for your target audience, your target market? Does it resonate with them? Because at the end of the day, if you love your logo, it's hot, it's fire, it's lit. But your target market, they don't get it, then it's pointless. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to make sales. You're just not trying to be out here looking pretty and having a hot logo and a hot website, which, that's you guys with marketing, you just don't want to have a hot website. You want to make sure that it converts.
Effective and converts, yeah.
Exactly. So we And every design decision that we make, it goes back to, does it resonate with your target market?
Mm-hmm.
So as far as the simplicity goes, I'll just unpack them really quickly.
Yeah,
Make
please.
sure it's something that it's instantly recognizable. It's not too much going on. It's not too many colors. 2 to 3 max. You don't
Two
want
to
to
three
have
colors max.
right.
Okay.
Yep, 2 to 3 colors max. You don't want to have 5, 6 different colors unless it's like a rainbow theme or something of that nature, or maybe it's a bunch of different colors that, when put together, will make up one cohesive piece. If it's not that, which 90% of logos aren't, then you want to make sure that it's 2 to 3 colors max. Something that's iconic, something that you could, and this kind of goes into the versatility piece, but something that you could put on a hat, put on a website. At the top of a website, that the logo will be small. Can you still read it? Do you know what it is?
Yeah.
Is the text large enough for you to read when it's small like that? If it's on a shirt, do you have to be staring into the person's chest before you realize what you're looking at? You don't want to have too many focal points. I don't want to get too nerdy when it comes to design, but I have a lot of people that may come to me with their ideas or their sketches or whatnot, and I always remind them we don't want to have more than one focal point of a logo. What is the entire piece trying to achieve? Where is the viewer's eye drawn when they look at the logo? Are they looking at the bottom right, or they're looking at a shoestring, and then they're looking at a sun? Like, where do you want their eye to be drawn when they look at it, at the whole piece? You don't want to have 17 different items and meanings within the logo because they're sentimental to you. No, you want something that's super simple. Think of the NBC logo, Target, the Jordan logo, Nike,
Apple.
Apple, exactly. So these are simple, they're iconic, they're memorable, they're timeless. You can picture those on the side of a building for 100 years and without having to change it. So and a lot of our clients and your viewers may experience this as well. They come to us having used a service like a Fiverr, and those guys, nothing against them, but just so you know, if you don't, a lot of designers on Fiverr, they're overseas. That's how they're able to charge, $5 or whatever. That may be a lot more to them over there. They're cranking out logos. So if they can do 20 to 30 logos in a day at $5 each, they're living good, to sit behind their computer. But having said that, they don't really take the time necessary to create something that's simple, memorable, timeless, versatile, and appropriate. So we have a thorough discovery process. It usually takes about 10 hours to go through our discovery process, to go through the brainstorming phase, our research phase. We'll research your competitors, see what they're doing great, what they may need to improve on. We look at your preferred color palette, font choices. We'll brainstorm, we'll do sketching, and then we'll go into the computer and start the designing and then rendering process, where we'll put together the items, the concepts, and then present them to you. And then once we nail down your concept, we'll jump into the color exploration process. So all of that, it takes a lot more time than, a 24-hour turnaround that they advertise on a Fiverr. So a lot of our clients will come to us having used a Fiverr, and it's been hit or miss, something that they may have thought was okay at first, but now it's a year later and they're like, you know what, I have to step my game up. It's time for me to really invest in my brand. So we know our avatar. We talk about your avatar, what's your target market. We know our avatar specifically. It's a author, speaker, coach with maybe 1 to 5 years experience. They're just getting started, aka paid gigs. They may they're recently published, or they may have a book in the works that they need a cover for. This is the first time they're really investing in their brand. Their current brand is kind of helter-skelter. It's put together from a combination of them doing it themselves, Canva, Fiverr, friends and family. This is the first time they're really investing. They had to consult with their spouse or significant other before spending money with us. But after showing their spouse or significant other our work, and then explaining the anticipated return on investment, they got the approval. And then, of course, once they get our product, then they're 100% happy. Well, 120% happy, let's say. So that's really our avatar. We know who that is, so we're able to really to niche down and serve them the way we do. So,
I found with simplicity, it's actually harder to make something simple than it is to make something that's
Yep.
got all these ideas and symbolism. And I mean,
Mhm.
the process of taking away, getting rid of clutter
Right.
and getting rid of all those distractions.
Hmm.
That's, I mean, that is an art in and of itself, right? To simplify things.
It is.
Um,
It is. Yep. And I've had to turn projects down when we can't get on the same page in terms of those criteria, because I'm not in the business of creating something just to do it because the client wants it and I want to get the buck. That's not what we're about. We want to make sure that we give you something that you're 100% satisfied with, and so are we,
mhm.
and something that we'd be proud to share with the world for years to come. So when we can't meet our criteria, we'll have to turn the project down. But one of the things I like to do is still give the client a plethora of design options to choose from. So, we may do something closer to what they were looking for. And I'm not saying I turn everybody's ideas down. That's not the case at all. We definitely take
Mhm.
that into consideration. That's a huge part of our discovery process. But if it's something that's kind of outlandish or out there, and we just have to make sure that we explain our design principles and our design philosophy with you, because when you're spending the kind of money that you are with us, we want to make sure that you have something that you won't have to go and replace next year.
Mhm. So how do you take something that's simple and then make it memorable? Like how is how's a logo memorable? Or is it like the overall design? Like we're talking about a website. How do you make it memorable?
Well, it just has to stand out. You don't want it to look like you did it yourself or it was a template. If it's a website,
Hmm.
you want to have something like something that's like a little quirky about it. Since we're talking about a website, just an example. One of the things that I do is, I like to do on a couple of our designs is, the social media icons on the website.
Yep.
We see that everywhere. Everybody has them. We've seen it a million times, but on a few of them, I've kind of incorporated the design language of the person's logo into the social media icon. So let's say they have a quirky circle surrounding it at a certain color, or I'll match the color scheme of it. So that's something that I do. And from a logo standpoint, you don't want to have something that's super simple where it's not memorable. For example, let's say you just have a shoe sitting there and it's like, oh, it's super simple. It's just a shoe. It's like, no, you want to do something that that makes people say, oh, that was kind of clever. Or maybe it's something they don't even catch at first.
Hmm.
Like one example I'm thinking of, and maybe we could show it later, is a logo for a company called Ballin' Out of Control. And the two L's in balling, um, we have that as like the base of a microphone, and the top of the microphone is a basketball.
Okay.
So when you're first looking at it, you definitely see the basketball, but you may not catch the whole microphone piece
Mm.
at first. But if you look at it, it may be something you catch on the back end or another time, maybe on second glance. So we like to do things like that where it's still simple and it's definitely memorable. So yeah, that's just one example. Um,
All right. And then you said the third one is timeless.
Yep. So timeless, really, the first two they lead right into timeless. So if it's simple, it's memorable. Most likely, it's gonna
Got
be
it. Yep.
timeless. So, like I said, you want to be able to picture that logo on the side of a skyscraper for 100 years, and it still be relevant. And not have
It
to.
doesn't look retro like a lot of the Web 2.0 stuff that we've
Right.
seen, or the like the 1990. I see a lot
Right.
of overseas stuff that literally looks like it was taken out of
Right.
2000.
Yep. You don't want it to be trendy. It's a lot of trends that go on in the graphic design space, but you don't want that, because you're gonna have to replace it. And let's say you have a crazy script font or signature type font or something. You can't put that on the side of a building. Like how are the light people gonna gonna get that? And if they can, it's gonna cost you an arm and a leg, and it's gonna look terrible in a couple of years. So um, something that's iconic. Not all of our logos have icons, but a lot of them do, especially with the personal brands. But we want you to be able to use the icon independently, just like we use the 120. Uh,
Hmm.
so that leads right into the timelessness, and you want it to be versatile. We talked about that. Can you use it on the top of a website, on a
Yeah.
shirt? Can it be on a flash drive and you still know what it says? So yeah, you want to be able to use it in a variety of applications. So all that stuff has to be considered, and that's something you really can't get from like a Fiverr. They don't have the time to go
Right, right.
in, that much detail to create something. So you get what you pay for. So
Yeah. And then the last thing you said was appropriate. I know we unpacked that. You're saying the biggest thing there when it comes to having an appropriate design is doing the research and really being clear on who your avatar is, right? Did I connect that right?
exactly, yep,
Okay.
exactly, yep. So who your target market is, and for the most part, if it's a relatively new business, and depending on um, what your business is, then if it checks the first four, it'll check the last one. So
Yeah.
you know, you usually don't alienate your audience unless you have something that is outlandish, or something that they can't read, um, or something that just doesn't make sense for that market. Let's say your market is kids or something, and you
Mhm.
have a corporate style, professional, luxurious type of logo. That's not going to resonate with somebody who may be in school. But
Yeah.
the same for when we work on a lot of personal branding projects, and we try to keep that person's target audience in mind, as well when designing their logo. And really, the people who would be looking to bring that person in to speak or what have you, if they're a speaker, what are the types of things that they would like, or they would resonate with when they're looking through tons of speaker sheets and things like that. So
Okay. All right, you heard it, guys. You better check your design. Make sure it's simple, memorable, timeless, versatile, and appropriate. Um, cool, man. Well, I really appreciate that. I know you've got a kind of cheat sheet that we'll give them at the end. Before we do, though, what's next? What's next for 120? You've partnered. You've taken your freelance agency, created a new company with one of the biggest speaking companies in the world. What's next?
and we're just honestly, we're looking to serve, we're looking to grow. Last year we hit hard and fast. It was a character building year. We learned a lot. We really refined our target, and our avatar. But this year we're looking to grow, because as of right now, it's myself, and we have another person who is helping us out with administrative things that we kind of just
Mhm.
brought on. So we're looking to grow and scale, and bring other designers into the fold, and be able to serve more people to help them get their message out there. And one of the reasons I love serving speakers and authors is that they have so much influence over the
Mhm.
world with their words. They help people through their situations, whether it's depression, poverty, financial issues, uh, health issues. They have so
Marriage.
much power.
Yeah.
Yep, marriage, through inspiration, through their expertise and life lessons that they've learned along the years that they share with others. So when we're able to create designs that help resonate with their audience, it's like we're helping them penetrate their market more by
Mhm.
allowing them to have beautiful designs that resonate with their audience. So it's like we have a responsibility to get that part right, so they can get their part right.
Yep.
Right, so that's one of the main reasons I love serving the audience that we serve. It's because they have so much influence. So just our designs alone, not just through Eric Thomas, but other people that we serve, we have thousands and millions of impressions, and we know that when our designs are used, and I love when I see our work being used out in the public by surprise, whether it's on a video or a backdrop, or a book signing. I love to see those things, because that means we did our job right, and that
Mhm.
person was happy enough and proud of their logo, and confident enough in their logo to put it to use in the right way, the way that we both intended it to be put to use. So yeah, being able to grow and scale, and I want to be able to kind of teach and do more things like this, to share our design philosophy and other things that we've learned with others out there. So if you
Awesome.
don't use our services, you still be able to apply just the basic principles, because you you've heard it a million times. You only get one first impression. So
Yep.
and you don't want to botch that, and you want to make sure that your business, it stands out. It looks like $1 million business before it is. That's very
Yeah.
important
It's that
because
fake it till you make it.
exactly. Yep. So and it's something
It's a real
simple that
thing.
yep, you can get it right from the jump. And when word of mouth runs out, people can still find you. And if they see you at first glance, you hand them your business card, they're like, oh wow. Because 9 times out of 10, the business card is thrown away or forgotten about. But
Hmm.
we create business cards that are a premium, and they really stand out from the pack. Comes to the speaker sheets. That's something you got to get right if you're a speaker as well. There's a lot of speakers. They use Canva and they try to do it on their own. And not to say that they shouldn't, but it looks terrible. It really does. I hate to use that word, but it really looks bad, and you're not doing yourself justice when you do a bad job on something like a speaker sheet or a one sheet or EPK. If you're a speaker, you're familiar with that. Um,
Hmm.
so using a professional, whether it's us or someone else, to get that right, the return on investment is immediate. You instantly put yourself at the top of the pile when it comes to someone looking to bring you in. If they don't know you, like if they haven't already made the decision based off of seeing you speak or what have you. So yeah, man, we're just bridging the gap
All
all
right.
over the place. It's
I love it.
huge gap. There's lots of gaps out there, but we're just doing our part. We're using our gifts to make sure people can focus on what they're good at, whether it's speaking, whether it's consulting, coaching, or in their business. So I appreciate what I have here. I'm thankful. I'm grateful to God for this gift, and I don't take it lightly, and I don't take it for granted. So yeah, man,
I
I'm
love it.
still figuring it out. Look, I don't have everything figured out either. I'm still figuring out day to day. But like I told you earlier, I'm getting to a point where I'm really comfortable in my gift. I'm grateful. I thank God for it every day. But yeah, sometimes I look at a design like, oh, thank you, God, thank you. If it wasn't for Him, I don't know how I would have thought of that or how I would have pulled that off. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm at a point now where it's like, okay, I'm finally acknowledged that I have something here. I think I got something,
Yeah.
a little something.
Aw- Awesome. Just curious, how many in just a relatively short window? How many clients were you able to serve? How many do you think you've served even just since 120?
Since 120, sheesh, maybe about 100.
Nice.
Maybe about 100 since 120, maybe a little less because I know it was about 100 when I was freelancing right before
Yeah.
we formed 120. So since
Wow.
then, it's probably been about 100. I'm going based off of the invoice numbers that we send out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yep, yep.
awesome.
And just to clarify,
To
we're
have
not.
hundreds of customers in a matter of,
Mm-hmm.
what, a year
Yeah,
and a
we're
half, 2 years?
yep, about a year and a half. Yep, a couple hundred. If it's not 200, it's right around there. Yeah, and we're not cranking out projects left and right either like a Fiverr. We take
Fiverr, right,
we
right.
take our time, but we'll last year, and we're getting better at this. We did take on a lot of projects at one time, so it
Yeah.
wasn't like every day, but we may have had 4 or 5 going on at once.
Cool. So just while we're wrapping up here, for someone that's out there that's thinking about making that leap, who's second guessing or what have you, what advice, what encouragement could you give them to make that decision? Being that now here you are, 2 years into it, different challenges, right? Different areas that you need to grow in. That'll never go away.
Mhm.
But would you trade it? And if not, would you rather go back to the 9 to 5 world? And if not, what would you say to encourage those people?
Well, it's twofold. The first one, you'll never you've heard it a million times, but it'll never be the right time to do it. If I waited for my wife's approval, I would still be at my my 9 to 5 job. Even though and I know I had to go through that tumultuous time to rise up like the phoenix from the ashes. No, okay. I knew I had to go through that to be where I am today. But it's never going to be the perfect time. And the second part is you have to realize that you operating in your gift is a non-negotiable. Someone's life depends on it. Your life depends on it. Your legacy depends on it.
It's a
So
responsibility. It's not.
yeah,
It's not
yeah.
even
Yep, it's your
a
duty,
choice.
obligation, and responsibility to do that. So, not everybody is meant to be an entrepreneur, but you have to give, if you're listening to this, most likely you've given it a shot or you're thinking about giving it a shot. And I'm just thinking about, if I hadn't done this, how my life would have been, for my children. I would have been living a lie right now. I feel like I'm my true self for the first time,
You give me goosebumps, bro.
yeah, it's the truth. And
Yeah.
you live the life as well. You're
Yeah.
100% yourself. I can grow my beard out, grow my hair out. It's looking crazy. I can do it because I want to, just like ET talks about, he can wear his hat, his shorts. I can do what I want. I can be who I put on this earth to be, rather than living up to other people's standards and what's quote unquote appropriate and what you have to wear and do and say. I can be myself and I can serve. And that's what I love to do. So your life depends on it. Other people's lives depend on it, people that you could serve. Brandon, I could say the podcast depends on it, because if I didn't create that Middleton's Methods podcast logo,
Yep.
then it wouldn't have been the success that it is now. No, I'm kidding.
We got
Yeah.
more work coming your way.
Oh man, we're ready. We're ready.
Awesome.
Yep, man. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So
you
guys,
have to get out there and just do it. Just do it.
yeah. If you feel that fire in your belly, if you feel that pull, there's a reason for it. You probably are the entrepreneur type. You probably should be walking in your gifts. So great advice, Marshall, as always. Appreciate the time we get to spend together. So where can people learn more about you? I know you have an awesome resource that you're going to be giving away. So how can they find you, reach out to you?
Yes. So
Give
me
them-
personally, you can either reach me on Facebook or Instagram at Marshall Fox. It's MarshallFox. But more importantly, 120 Design Studio. That's the number 120 Design Studio. That's on Instagram and Facebook, as well as our website. It's 120designstudio.com. And on our website, if you're a speaker, we have a free gift. It's a 15-page document. It's called the ultimate speaker brand design checklist. So what I would do, I would see like we talked about a lot of people's designs that needed work, but so I decided to put together a comprehensive guide that details what you should have in your arsenal from a design standpoint as a speaker. So of course, a personal brand logo, your speaker sheet, business cards, website, how your website should work, and things like that. So it's a comprehensive guide that details each one of those, and just things to look out for, whether you're doing it yourself or you have someone else doing it, or you have a professional, or if you use us, things you should be looking out for from a design standpoint, just to make sure that you put your best foot forward first. And it's a lot, whether you're an entrepreneur, speaker, author. It's a lot of things you'll need, and even you, Brandon, you're still figuring out. We need a logo for this, we need that, and stuff will always come up. So to have a checklist or a resource that you can refer back to, and whether you're getting things done now or you're making a plan to get designs created, that you can always say, okay, we'll need this. Let's make a plan to get the website at this point. Let's make a plan to get this item at this point. So that guide is meant to help you through that. It took about a week straight to put together, but I really felt that it was a appropriate time. Also on our blog, if you're a speaker, we have an article titled "The Ultimate." What is it called? The secret sauce. That's what it is. The secret sauce to creating a winning speaker sheet. So check that out. That'll be helpful for you, especially when you're putting together your speaker sheet or your one sheet. If you're a speaker, that'll be helpful for you. And also leave feedback. If you want. I love to hear from you. If you want feedback on your designs, reach out to me. You can just contact me on Facebook or email, which is Marshall@120designstudio.com. So
awesome.
Yep.
Awesome,
Thanks,
man.
Brandon.
Well,
Look, I appreciate you having me here, man. This is an honor, especially given the fact that a year ago I was like, man, I'm not doing podcasts. That's not my thing. So, but I was thrilled that you asked me to come on. So I just want to say,
we appreciate you, man. We appreciate you helping out our listeners with their design. And I know you're a busy man these days, so I'll let you get to it. I want to be respectful of your time, but guys, definitely connect with Marshall Fox. Check out 120designstudios.com. And you heard it. You heard Marshall's story. I'm putting a link in the show notes to a really cool video. I think we'll hit you to the core, give you a little bit more background. But this stuff isn't easy. It's not like you wake up one day and it's just a real simple, sweet, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and everything's going to be, easy. It is a process. But this is another great story, another great testimony of what's on the other side and that it is possible. So yeah, Marshall, I appreciate you. Looking forward to connecting again soon. And this has been another episode of the Middleton Methods podcast. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.